some of which our boys study in school, and for his fearless pursuit of critical understanding. Earlier today, the history classes who've been reading India After Gandhi had the chance to interact with him before he led an open forum with more of our students. He was also interviewed by the Historical Circle and the weekly teams, who no doubt will share what they learned about him and from him in their next editions. Thank you for being with us, Ram. We look forward to hearing from you shortly. Lots has changed in the last 12 months since we were last here assembled. I'm going to begin by reflecting on what I think is probably the first major and recognisable change, and that's the change of our chairman. Now, my first contact with the school came from Gautam Thapa in London early in 2016. And it was clear that the school had a chairman who was deeply connected and who particularly stood for what the school stood for. I'd done some homework on the history of the school, and I had a friend who'd worked here from 1982 until 1988. But Gautam took me through his journey from being a boy in H House to a board member and then to being the chairman. And he gave me the picture of the school, both developmentally and educationally. And when I visited with Lindsay a couple of months later, we found the school that he had described. One that he and the board had worked hard to support and set the direction for, and that Peter and the staff had worked hard to put into practice. Working with the board and its committees over the last year has very much been the experience that I was hoping for. Having worked in 6 other schools and seen dozens of schools and boards around the world, I've seen the good, the bad and the ugly of school boards. And I can safely say that the board of our school is a model of good governance, not only for India, but also for the rest of the world to learn from. Having recently attended the Headmasters and Headmistresses Conference in Belfast, I know that there are plenty of boards of good schools who are making it up as they go along. And many heads have to spend as much time managing up as they do working for their students and staff. This is certainly not the case here. And the culture of trust, honesty, and empowerment that exists is no accident. It's due to Gautam's leadership, his vision, and his love for the school. He worked to make sure that now and into the future, it would be the interests of the school and not the interests of individuals that would be served. And for that we can all be grateful. It must also be acknowledged that in the last 10 years he's given an enormous amount of financial support to the school, putting his money where his mouth is, and sharing what he had with the place that contributed to what he was. Gautam's last act as chairman was to lead the process through which the board found his replacement, a process that was carried out with the same care, checks and balances as we find in all of the board's committees. This is why we can feel secure in the recommendation they made that Sunil Mudgal take over as chairman of the IPSS. And it was on the evening of the 24th of September, after the AGM of the IPSS, that Sunil took over from Gautam to help write the next chapter in the school's history. So welcome, Sunil. Also, vintage 1973. It must have been a good year that year. We're delighted to have you here this evening, of course. Now, in his time since leaving school, Sunil has done many things in the worlds of industry, education and the arts. And for the school, he's previously been a member of the executive board of the DSOBS, as well as being its president, and he served on the board of the IPSS as well. I'm very much looking forward to working with you. And now, we're also looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Sunil. Please take the stage.
Thank you, Matthew. Greetings to my colleagues on the board, the headmaster, the school captain, our chief guest for the day, Ram, parents, teachers, staff members, ladies and gentlemen. It is always a delight to be here. Matthew, you're right. Coming to the school always brings back amazing memories of time that we spent here, of the friends that we made, many of whom remain with us for life. I enjoyed the cricket match, the little bit I saw where Ram was umpiring. I enjoyed the debate which was taking place yesterday. It was fascinating. It is essential to respect wisdom and experience. Yet it is equally important to recognize relevance, context, and capacity. So the school picked a wonderful subject for the debate yesterday, a subject which is actually being debated around the world right now as to what is the present requires. What is it that we as a society want? What is it that we as people want? So thank you very much for organizing a wonderful set of events that the founders, the headmaster, the staff members, the teachers, many of whom we don't see when we come here, have worked tirelessly to put together this amazing celebration of 2.5 days for all of us. And it's not just this 2.5 days. This is like ducks swimming on a pond. For our students to have a smooth life, all of them are paddling constantly and furiously all the time to make things smooth for us. So may I request you to join me in thanking the entire school team for the wonderful work that they do. The debate, in a sense, also reminded me of what the provost of the 425-year-old Trinity College said here in September, that you don't get to be 425 years unless you embrace change. The lessons from there apply as much to us in Doon School. Many of us as old boys like to see the school as it was when we were here. The reality is, India is changing and the world has changed. So it is important for us to embrace this change, in fact, to lead the change for schools and for education. It is therefore an essential requirement that we be the leaders, as we've always been in education, but also in the change, to look at the world as the world will be tomorrow, but to look at that today, preempt it, build it into our plans, build it into what we do every day, and ensure that the students coming out of Doon School are prepared for the world that they will face tomorrow when they go out and face universities or subsequently life post-universities. I'd like to say a special thank you to Gautam. Gautam Thapar has been a wonderful chairman, as you just heard, and we had a wonderful, smooth transition. I learned quite a few things from Gautam over the last few weeks. I spent some time with him to understand what the issues facing the school were, where he thinks we should be pushing more or not pushing more. I also want to say a special thank you to Ram, our chief guest today, and as you heard, from the same batch with me in school. Many people know of his intellectual prowess, and he is a great intellectual. He writes history, he writes cricket. I hope someday he'll write a book about the school as well. But not many know about some of the things he was doing in school. He started things like stargazing, so people thought he was a bit off at that time. And then, by the way, he was very fond of bird watching, but more of the feathery kind. So he actually taught us a few things when he was in school itself. You could see, here's a man who's going to go places. Thank you for making the time to be here with us, Ram. We appreciate this. Matthew's been at the helm of affairs here for just over a year, as you heard. But he's kind of embraced the Chandbagh life almost as if he's been here forever. We've had many interesting headmasters here in the school. I'm not sure we've had one who rated single-track mountain biking as one of his hobbies. So we do appreciate adventurer here, Matthew, as a headmaster, but watch those curves, we need you here. I see there another headmaster sitting in the audience. Welcome here, John. Thank you very much for making the time to be here. Our school's continued success is the result of hard work put in by many people, and the Old Boys Society and the Old Boys deserve a special place for their passion, their commitment, and their acts of generosity towards the school. The DSOB has recently secured the Chand Bagh Accord with the IPSS to ensure that both are pulling the school in one direction, which is only forward, and both are working in tandem